All right. Well, I feel like it's been a while since we played, since Central Florida. Obviously it was a great win for us. I said this after the game. Proud of our guys the way they bounced back. A lot of bad things in that first game, and but they didn't let it affect them. The second one, we learned from it. We came back, had a great week of practice, went down there. We didn't play perfect by any means. Felt like several plays we left on the field that we could have done better after going back and watching the film. But nevertheless, I think we were second half defense came out and really just shut them down and kept them out of the end zone. They missed a field goal. And we hit a couple field goals to win it. But again, great win for us. And now we got Florida State coming in. We're excited about this opportunity. We know they've done great in the first two games. Big win against LSU, and they playing well. I think Jordan Travis is playing very poised, throwing the ball good. They have some excellent running backs. Offensive line seems to be better this year, a year older. I think better there, and they got some transfer wide receivers, big wide receivers. I think one of them 6'7", 230. Even their slot receiver is kind of a muscle-bound slot receiver. Physical players out there, and defensively, got some experience back. Both safeties, I think, are really good players. Both D tackles, really big, over 330 and 318. There on the inside, and then impact transfer at defensive end for them. Number 5, I think his last name is Verse. Very good player, and impacted the game. I think he had a blocked field goal against LSU. Had a couple of sacks. He's an impact player. So I think you look at the special teams. Man, really probably won them the game against LSU. 2 muff punts LSU had, and then they get blocked field goal and block extra point. So huge part of the game. Again, we're excited about playing at home. We haven't been here, I feel like in a long time, and we're glad to be playing here in a normal week as far as time goes and not having that short week. So, we're looking forward to it. So with that, I'll just open it up for questions.
Scott, Friday night games have always been kind of a cool thing around here. Do you like those kind of games? And you've had a couple in this stadium. It does seem to get a little crazier on Friday nights.
Yeah, I mean, I like the excitement and the energy you feel, from that. If I had to pick, I'd pick Saturday night, but I think there is something special about it. The fact that, usually when you're playing on Friday night, there's not many college games that are on throughout the country. You're usually on national television. So I think that all that stuff's positive. But again, for me, it's high school is Friday night, and college is Saturday. But we really don't have any control of that. But we like the energy that I think that'll be out there, and hopefully a great crowd here Friday night.
Scott,
You
your team
mentioned-
obviously improved from the. Okay.
You mentioned last night with Paul on your coaches show that you turn in a few plays to get clarifications on rulings. What is the process like after that? Do you get an explanation? Have you got an explanation on why it wasn't targeting on Ford?
On Ford, yeah, yeah, we do. So what you do? We go through the game, and whether a play was called a penalty or not, we can turn it in, and because really we're just trying to learn. You're trying to figure out what they're seeing, what we're seeing. And more than anything, it's that. And we did turn that one in. And you go back and look at the film, and it was a close call. They called targeting on the field. It seemed like they reviewed that forever, and it came back and said no targeting. On the film, their defender hits Ford in the face mask with the back of his helmet, not the crown, not the top. And I think that's why they overturned it. And the explanation we got back was that it was the back of his helmet that kind of scraped him. The other thing was he didn't. The defender kind of went to the sideline. Ford was going vertically. He goes to the sideline. He kind of scrapes him. I think if he come right at him like this, we probably would have got it. Again, it was close. It was a very close call. They said they agreed with the non-targeting on that particular play. It's again, that things happen fast, and then you go back and they watch it on the replay, and I think actually it goes back to Greensboro. So Greensboro's got it. I mean, the targeting thing we can debate forever. I think, I don't think anybody truly knows what targeting is. I think if you see it, you know it. If it's helmet to helmet, that kind of thing. But that was I could see why they didn't make that targeting.
Yeah, your team obviously improved from the first week to the second. What are the points of emphasis or the areas you really feel like you need to improve on this week?
Man, we got to get a lot better at just playing more disciplined football, and I think that's the penalties. I think we've not been good in the red zone offensively. Well, I think we've had maybe 3 or 4 red zone penalties that have knocked us out of that. And you get long yardage in the red zone, it's hard to overcome. I think defensively last week, 2 times we jump off sides, one on 4th down that gives them a first down. The other one on 3rd down, they end up throwing an interception, and we're all sides. We just got to play a lot cleaner football. I think anytime you're going to get in these close games, and you don't want to beat yourself. And I think very easily could have happened last game, and it certainly happened the first game. We turned the ball over and penalties. So we got to play cleaner football. And that's just focus and every day in practice, and continuing to focus throughout the game, and not have those things happen to us.
Coach, we've seen obviously a lot of Tyon, saw a little bit Jalen and Jawar. What we haven't seen Travion yet. I was just curious what his status is on potentially carrying the rock.
Yeah, I think we'll probably see Cooley this week. I think he'll be back, and he's practiced well yesterday, practiced hard. I think he'll be in there. I think you'll see probably more Jordan as well. I think he maybe had 3 carries last week. Try to get him a few more carries as well. So, I do think Cooley, will get an opportunity, which he hadn't really in the first couple of games. So I do think he'll be back out.
Now with a regular week, you're able to give them a day off. They come back, and they come back off a win. What's been the demeanor of this team in practice, especially on defense, where there has to be more confidence?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that yesterday defensively they had a really good day. Still high intensity, flying around. We were in full pads yesterday. I think the energy level way better in this last contest, which we got to continue to bring, and I think that's what we want in practice. And then we did that yesterday. Particularly on the defensive side. The offensive side wasn't as good as the defensive side yesterday, but but again, just having that energy, flying around. I think the sideline was way better in the second game compared to the first. More focus, guys pulling for each other, all those type things we got to continue this week, and then feed off our crowd. I think the one thing the last 2 games, it's been great home field advantages for both of those teams. Anybody that was in both of those stadiums, I mean, Syracuse was really loud and disrupted our offense. Same thing with this past weekend. I mean, it was a great environment. Definitely an advantage for the home teams there. I think that's why Central Florida's their record's been the way it's been the last 6 years there. So we got to use that for our advantage here as well, to have a hostile environment, hostile crowd, disrupt the other team. It takes a few plays, and all of a sudden now they're knocking off the sticks. What Florida State does really well, they've been staying on the sticks. I think they're one of the better teams on 3rd down. I think they're averaging 3rd and 5. If you're averaging 3rd and 5, then you got an opportunity to pick up a lot of first downs. So hopefully we can knock them off the sticks a little bit, and hopefully the crowd here will help that out.
Slightly off topic, but 2 things. One, as a former coach and alum of App State, your reaction to them beating Texas A&M, and secondly, as somebody who's been in the business for a while, your reaction and how much the business has changed when you see like a coach like Scott Frost get fired like 3 games into the season.
Yeah, well, I think first of all, it's not surprising that App went and won that game. That program they think they can go play anybody, anywhere, and go win, and they had a great game plan, occupied the ball, and held A&M to 178 yards or 86 yards, whatever it was, and won the turnover margin. So it happened not only at App State. I mean, Marshall did it at Notre Dame, Georgia Southern did it at Nebraska. So I think what's happening right now, and it's particularly when you got the transfers. You never, like I heard yesterday, I think Marshall has 24 newcomers coming in. I mean, you don't know what kind of team they have. And they go up there and beat a Notre Dame team at their place. So, as far as you mentioned Nebraska and Scott Frost, I mean, I don't like it. I don't know what you're accomplishing by firing somebody in week 3, in my personal opinion. Let him finish, his job this year, and if it's not good enough, then toward the end of the year maybe you make a move. But after three games, I mean, doesn't make sense to me.
Scott, in the offseason, you talked about the defensive backs and secondary help. The other night, Brownlee and
Yeah.
Riley were in the middle of it. Seemed like everything. Can you just speak to what they have brought to this team,
Yeah.
especially those two?
You know, it's neat. We're watching Florida State, and Brownlee was playing against us last year, very aggressive, and I don't know how many tackles he had against us last year, but quite a few. And but he did it the other night. Some great plays, particularly in the boundary. They were trying to attack in the boundary there. They hit one pass on him, but other than that, I thought he did excellent. And gets an interception, and he's got a club on his hand, and he still gets an interception in the game, which is tremendous. And Quincy made some great plays as well. Had the interception on the offsides play, and then almost had another interception in the game. And I mentioned him in camp, how he's probably has the best hands in the secondary back there, making those interceptions. And but yeah, they've been great additions, and it gives us more depth. We're able to move Trey Clark around. We can put him at corner, put him at nickel. You know, Chandler Jones the same way. So I mean, it just gives us a little bit more flexibility in the back end there, and you know, and I think we got to continue to use all those guys in those positions and move them around, utilize their strengths, and put them in positions to be able to make plays, and it gives us a lot more versatility.
Scott, you mentioned on Friday night after the game about just kind of letting Malik do what he does and, you know, be himself. I guess what's that balance of, you know, wanting him to run and get those yards and be himself, but also still developing him to be that pocket passer and get comfortable there?
Well, I mean, he's got to throw the ball better. There's no question. You know, when we had some plays the other night, we could have hit and extended some drives. You know, he was excellent in the run game. Did a great job with that, and it's a big plays. I mean, you know, the long touchdown run really, you know, got us into the game there and kind of broke the game open. But we do have to throw the ball better, which is no question about that. I mean, I think utilizing our receivers more, getting Wiggins more involved, you know, Amari more involved. You know, T. Huddy's getting some opportunities, some touches, but you know, getting some other guys involved. Ford, you know, we tried to get Ford involved last week in Central Florida. And I think we did a few times, but really, you know, trying to spread that ball out. Braden Smith as well. You know, so there is opportunities out there. We got to take advantage of them, and you know, Malik's got to continue to work and get it, and you know, hopefully it'll happen this week. We'll be able to, you know, open it up and get the pass game going.
Scott, back to App State for a minute. How do you think they've been able to sustain that kind of success through different divisions? I mean, you've been a part of that, and you know, how do you sell the program to an outsider looking at what they've accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very unique place, and unless you've been there, you really don't understand it. You know, it's an isolated school. You can't get there unless you're going there. You just don't ride by this school. It's a small town of 25,000 people that live there, and we got 20,000 students that come there. So I mean, that's half the town is you know, students. So you know, I think in recruiting process, when you go to App, you either love it or hate it, and they find out early if they want to go there. And so when they go there, you're going to do two things. You're going to get your education, you're going to play ball. There's nothing else really to do. And so the people that are there is about playing ball. And that's why when you put the ball down, they're ready to play. I mean, really, there's no distractions. And I think that's a huge thing that people don't really fully realize that. And the kids there, they play with a chip on their shoulder every day, you know, because a lot of those kids were not recruited by the Texas A&Ms and the Michigans in the big schools, and they have something to prove every time they go out on the field. And I think that's why they've always had success there.
Coach, I'm curious, which one is more difficult for you, to get guys to continue to play well or to correct mistakes?
Well, I think probably just getting them to play at a high level all the time. I think because when you are having some success and you're doing good, sometimes, you know, it's easy to relax and think it's just going to happen again, but it doesn't work that way. I mean, so you have to bring it every day. You have to stay focused every single time you're out there on the field, and it's because it's not just going to happen. And I think that's why we see the parity we see in college football on game days, because sometimes these guys that are 18 to 22 don't show up. Sometimes they think it's just going to happen. And then you see the upsets like we saw this past weekend, and you see a team that maybe one week will come out and look great, the next week they're a little bit flat. They don't look as good because it's hard to maintain that level of consistency every single day. So I think that's probably the hardest thing.
Scott, one of the things that you have talked about just this start to the season, playing Friday game, just as you say, that tough stretch. I guess on the same token, it's been almost, 2 weeks since Florida State has played. But for you all, do you like the fact that you've been able to play this number of games, or do you think maybe more practice? Speaking of which, I guess the health of the team.
Yeah, I think you'd like just to have a normal routine. You like just to have a 7-day turnaround before you play and just keep that going. Sometimes I think bye weeks can hurt, a little bit. What it does help is injuries. It does help the fact that you can stay healthy. But what's tough is when you have a 6-day turnaround in back-to-back road games. That's hard. I mean, you still feel the effects of that. But I think just your normal routine is what you like. And as far as the health of our team, I think, we're pretty solid right now, the health of the team. We came out of that game pretty healthy. Mitchell right now is a question mark. He got a lower leg injury in the game. So that remains to be seen where he's at, but he'd be a question mark. But other than that, I think we're pretty healthy. But we'll see how it goes. But again, a normal routine is good. This weekend we came back. We had, Saturday was our Sunday practice, and of course yesterday was a Monday, but it's Tuesday. I mean, we don't even know what day of the week it is, because playing these Friday games or whatever. But yeah, again, a normal week for us. But today is a Wednesday practice, and so then tomorrow's a no sweat Thursday, and then we're ready to go. So.
Scott, you talked a little about their defense, but can you kind of speak to they're so big up front, and then Verse in the first 2 games has made a ton of plays, and he's not the biggest guy, but he kind of plays off those other ones.
Plays big. The 2 D tackles that we played against last year, and even the backups that come in are solid. They're I don't know, 330 something and 320. What they do is create a great push right there. It's hard for your interior lineman to get off on the backers, and then their backers can run. 15 and can't remember the other number of the linebacker, maybe 7. They can run. 4, number 4. 15 and 4, and so they'll allow those linebackers to run free and go make those plays on those running backs, and that's where they're very effective. And what 5 has been able to do is cause havocs off the edge. He took LSU's tackle back in the backfield the very first play of the game. I mean, just straight back in the backfield, and then I think he had a couple of sacks other than that, and then the block kick. I mean, he just plays with a lot of effort, and he has a lot of talent. It's a great pickup from Albany, where he came from, and he's an impact player, similar to what they had last year when they had the number 11 that came in from Georgia that ended up being ACC defensive player of the year. This guy is very good. He's a very good player. All right. Thanks, guys.
It's kind of the same thing what Scott was just talking about there. They're big up front. How do you kind of go about attacking that, and what have you seen, from them defensively?
Yeah, they're a talented defense. They have playmakers on all 3 levels. Their D-line is big. Front will be the biggest, front that we've played this year, and really physical up front. The linebackers are fast and mobile, run and hit and tackle well. And then on the back end, all those guys are returning, or most of those guys are returning starters, at least the top 4 guys, and have played a lot of ball games and are good players. So they've got playmakers at every level, and it's going to be a great challenge. Our guys are excited, for first home game, and really looking forward to this challenge this week.
Yeah, Malik is such a good runner, top running quarterback in the country last year. Are there a certain number of plays that you're comfortable having him run, and what percentage of the time that he runs, is it a called run or is it just him making a play?
Great question. So to your first question, he is such a dynamic runner that we you know, we want to allow him to be able to use his legs, and he wants to run. I mean, you know, he's one of those guys that he knows that he's a difference maker, he's a playmaker, and we didn't do that enough in the first game. And so we came back, and that was one of the adjustments that we made. And he wanted to make that adjustment, and he reached out to me and said that. And so, you know, as a coach, you always, you know, want to limit the hits on your quarterback, but I think he does a great job. I mean, he's one of those guys, he has a knack for making guys miss, not always taking big hits, knowing when to get in, get down, get out of bounds. And so really, it really depends on the flow of the game, you know. As far as the number of called runs for him, because he's obviously going to have the off-script, off-schedule scramble runs, you know, as well. So, you know, you don't have to call a ton of Q runs. He's going to get his carries.
Lance, obviously the offense did take a step forward against UCF, but it had a handful of opportunities and drives derailed by untimely penalties. Why do you think, at least through the first 2 games of the year, that there's been an abundance of penalties called really on both sides of the ball?
Yeah. One, you know, our guys answered the bell and answered the challenge that Coach Sack gave the team, which was to play hard, play with more sense of urgency, and more fight. And so I thought offensively our guys did that. We played hard, played with great sense of urgency, and that part was good. There were some positives. But still a lot to clean up. You know, you know, right now we're not great on third down. We're not great at converting touchdowns in the red zone. You know, we had multiple opportunities at the end of the game to close it out with us on the field and not putting our defense out on the field, and we didn't do that. And so, you know, each week, whether you win or you lose, you know, you come back, you look at the tape, you take note of the things that you did well, and you try to correct the things that you didn't do well. And so we corrected some of our mistakes from game 1, and we have to continue to get better each and every week, and that's really just the process that we're going to go through every game this year. And if we just get a little bit better each year, I mean each game, then, you know, we can get some confidence going, and we'll be a tough team down the stretch.
Lance, as the wide receiver coach, Scott was talking about getting, you know, D and Omari and those guys a little more, and Braden more involved. Is that more them running better routes or calling plays for them, or a little bit of both?
I think it's really a combination of both, but I think we have to do a better job. You know, I have to do a better job making sure that we script, you know, touches for them early and often. And if they're not, you know, if they haven't touched the ball, make sure that we get to some of their other plays where they're, you know, the primary receiver, and make sure that we get the ball in their hands. So I've got to do a better job of that, and we've talked about that as a staff. And so, yeah, we've got to mix all those guys in. I mean, you know, T. Huddy has done a great job. You know, Amari played more last week than he played in week 1. He had, you know, every time he's touched the ball, he's been really explosive. I think he's got, you know, over 20 yards, you know, average, you know, per catch. And so just going to have to mix some of those other guys, and it's a combination of all those things.
Lance, kind of piggybacking off that, and I asked Scott about the same thing. I guess when you know that Malik is a dynamic runner and that he can make guys miss, how do you, I guess, mix that in with wanting him to develop as a passer and getting those other receivers involved?
Yeah, so Malik is a dynamic playmaker, run and pass. And, you know, a lot of people look at the completion percentage right now where it is, and, well, why is Malik's completion percentage so low? Well, it falls on Malik, but there are a lot of people that are involved in that and have a hand in that. I mean, you know, receivers, tight ends, you know, are we where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there? You know, did we run a great route? Did we get open? Did we do what we were supposed to do? You know, did we catch the ball when he got it to us? Up front, did we protect and make sure that he had a clean pocket and was able to keep his eyes down the field? And so that's on all of us as an offense. It always falls on the quarterback, and that's part of playing the quarterback position. But Malik is dynamic, you know, runner and passer.
On red zone offense, you got there right away in the last game, and you run it straight up the middle and score, and it's always good to run in the red zone. As you look at the season and possessions in the red zone so far, do you adjust, like practicing on some of that stuff, or your play calls, or how do you assess just how this team has done when it's got down into that near goal line situation this year?
Yeah, you know, I think one of the biggest things that we've done in the red zone that has hurt us is the self-inflicted wounds that I talked about last week. Penalties, getting behind the sticks on first and second down, and now you're behind the chains and you got third and long, and it's tough to convert. In the red zone, field spaces are tighter. There's not as much room to spread the defense out, and so we have to do a better job of staying on track and staying on schedule. And then from a scripting, from a weekly standpoint, we've looked at adding. We actually added some red zone periods to make sure that we get some extra reps at those, and really went back and looked at training camp in spring. What were the things that we did really, really well that we know inside and out, and try to get more of those base core concepts run and repped.
Back to wide receivers for a minute. How gratifying is it as a coach, and how do you let your player know that when they make a great downfield block like Tyler Hudson did on Malik's touchdown?
Yeah, I've always said this. I get more excited when receivers make blocks down the field, especially like the one T. Huddy did, than catching a great pass down the field for a touchdown, or a Sports Center play a big play downfield. That's what we're supposed to do, is make a play when the ball's in the air. I think a lot of receivers don't have that mentality to want to block and want to be physical, because to me, blocking, from a receiver standpoint, it's about want to. Do you have that attitude and want to and willingness to go in there and block, even though you're not getting the ball? Thanks, guys.
Good afternoon.
What have you seen as far as the improvement with Brownlee and Riley, and how you can use those, how it's kind of helped everybody else? We heard in the offseason about them. Now, after 2 weeks, they've made a bunch of plays.
Well, I think those guys have done a tremendous job of coming in and, embracing the culture, as well as, trying to do the best that they can to learn the schematics as fast as they have. And the team rallied around them, and, they're great guys to be around and great teammates. And the way they have done that is they come in and they just work. They came in and gave everything they have in the weight room and out there on the field this summer, as well as fall camp. And those guys don't want to take reps off. They want to try to get as many reps as they can. And they're just competitors. And so it's great to have those two guys, on our roster right now. Allows you to do a little bit more things, like putting Trey Clark inside, playing a little bit more man in the slot with people doing a lot of RPOs. So it allows you to do a little bit more things defensively, and we saw that come to fruition this past Friday night.
Brian, just to have the whole defensive unit have that type of performance last week, just how good was it and big is it for this team's confidence to have a type of performance like that where you really did put the game away?
It was huge. It was huge for us, not only just to finish a game. You think about last season, we lost multiple games by 4 points or less, and gave up some fourth quarter scores, late in the game, and didn't finish games. And that was huge, not only for the defense, but for the team's morale as well. And, it was gratifying to see those guys finish those plays. We've been seeing it all fall camp, and so it was great to see those guys go out there and perform and finish the game and win the game on Friday.
I got a hard one for you. What'd you do with the game ball?
To be honest, it's sitting on my living room table right now. I haven't done anything with it
yet. The last week, the preparation for this last game, I mean, you could probably do a little clinic on that as to how what goes into a team kind of gathering itself and getting itself back together to come out and have a performance like they did this week. What were the keys during the week of preparation, do you think, for your?
Well, I think it was just, hey, get back to the basics, and I think the biggest thing from week 1 to week 2 was tackling. We got back to just, hey, let's get back to the fundamentals. Understand, hey, we got to tackle, man. We got to tackle a lot better. If you tackle better, that puts you in better situations to be in some more second and long scenarios or third and long scenarios, or just getting them to third down in general. That was the biggest thing, from week 1 to week 2. too in the preparation. We did a little bit more tackling with tackling circuits. And our guys just executed, and just honed in on their assignment and not just trying to, go do something that's not a part of the schematics, within the scheme of the defense. And but our defense staff done a tremendous job this past week of getting their guys prepared, and I was so proud of them to go out there and execute on this past Friday night.
Brian, when you take a look at the first couple of games that FSU's played this season, what's sort of the first thing that kind of jumps out on film when you start breaking them down?
You always start with the quarterback play. I think Jordan has done a great job in the first couple of games. You can tell he's grown a lot. He's matured a good bit to where he's, keeping his eyes downfield, making plays with his legs, but his throwing mechanics, as well as his placement of the balls, have been really good, really, really good these first couple of games. And that's something that I've seen just, from those guys over the past couple of years. Running the football really, really well. I mean, they're running the ball really, really well. I think they're one of the tops in the country in rushing the football, as well as one of the top offenses in the country. And when you have a dual quarterback that can run, design runs for quarterbacks, as well as have 3 dynamic running backs, in that running back room, that's a pretty dynamic offense, with really good receivers as well. So it's going to be a challenge for us this week, but I think overall offensively they settled into who they are, and you can see it in their style of play.
You mentioned Jordan being a dual threat quarterback. When you come up with a game plan against them, do you have to make a decision of we're going to make him beat us by throwing the ball, or we're going to make him beat us by running the ball?
You have to do a little bit of both. You have to figure out, hey, what are our strengths? What are the things we do well? And what are the things they do well, and see which one, is better fit for us. And with him, you want to be able to do both, because that sucker can do both. He can throw and run. This past week, I think we wanted to make Plumlee, make him beat us throwing the football. And but with Jordan, you got to mix it up, because that kid can beat you with his arm as well as his legs.
You've talked a lot about depth since you've been here. Does that show that the depth has gotten better? That you had some guys that didn't play a ton of snaps, Dorian Jones, KJ Cloyd, Ramon per year. I think Chandler, even a big couple. Yeah. They came in and make big plays the other night. Does that show the depth?
It helps. It helps out a lot when you have more depth. Like I said earlier, it allows you to do so many different things. But also when a guy goes down, you don't have to scratch some things if you worked on all week, because you don't have anybody to back, one of those guys up. And that's the thing we kind of ran into a little bit last year. But right now we have good depth, especially in the secondary linebacker core, D-line as well. So the depth most definitely is getting a whole lot better, and it will be better hopefully after this season as well.
Brian, it's not uncommon for, in this age of the transfer portal for guys or players to, play their former team. But, when you have a Jordan Travis or, Jarvis Brownland, there is a little bit more crossover. How does that, if at all, affect, the game, or just maybe some of the pregame stuff or anything like that? Yeah,
emotions are a part of football. And, I think with Jordan, who was, a former Cardinal, and, Jarvis, who's a former Seminole, you try to keep those guys as calm as you can, because, both of those guys want to beat their former team. So you got to just try to tell those guys, hey, keep your emotions in check, play the game. No need to talk, just go out there and play and, have fun and execute the game plan. And, at the end of the day, hopefully we'll come out on top. But that's the biggest thing. Just keep the emotions in check.
Brian, I asked Lance about this sort of thing on his side of the ball, but this is sort of a team-wide issue. Why do you think it is through the first couple games of the season there's been a little bit too many penalties for you guys' liking?
Well, I think sometimes, you go through, fall camp, and sometimes you have referees, sometimes you don't. With scrimmages, I just think first couple of game jitters, in a way. That's just my take on it. I think we've tried to do a heck of a job of going on two, with us jumping off sides a lot, and you just got to be disciplined. You just got to be very, very disciplined and lock out the noise. And I think too, some guys are still getting into those game game shape. Sometimes you get tired and then mentally weak. You end up jumping off sides or PIing or whatever the case may be. I think that goes into getting back into game shape as well as just honing in onto your job and being a little bit more focused. Good. Thank you, guys.